So, if you've somehow missed it, Swatch has been teasing a collaboration called the Royal Pop, and for a few days it seemed like all signs were pointing towards an AP partnership centered around the Royal Oak. The typography looked unmistakably AP, the branding is there, but now it is official, with AP promoting it on their Instagram. It actually says Audemars Piguet x Swatch. And I have to say it, I think it is a smart move. It could be a really good collaboration if followed through right. Now, we don't actually know what this thing is yet, but it's just piecing together promotional material and leaks. There's a lot we can build with that. The latest reel from AP shows it's mechanical, not quartz. It's going to be something on a lanyard or necklace of some kind, and it seems to be connected to the Pop Swatch, which is a fantastic callback. So, for anyone who doesn't know, the Pop Swatch was a popular line of oversized swatches through the mid-1980s and 1990s. They were a 47mm plastic watch head that could be popped out of its plastic bezel and strap and then clipped onto whatever, bags, clothing, used as a pocket watch. This whole concept feels very of the moment and tapping into the youth zeitgeist. I think it might already be out of fashion by this point, but it reminds me a lot of Labubu and Tamagotchi, and even the nostalgia for Y2K in youth culture right now. I really think it taps into this specific cultural moment in a special way. And then there's the AP of it all, and there's precedents for it on their end as well. So in the early 1980s, Audemars released the first pocket watch interpretation of the Royal Oak, the model 5691, and did a pretty short run of different interpretations. I think it's an interesting move. I honestly thought it was fake when it all started coming out. Like, why would AP collaborate with Swatch? All of the Swatch interpretations of luxury watches so far have been on Swatch Group watches, which of course AP is not. It really didn't make sense to me. And it was when I started seeing the leaked pictures, seeing some leaked information, and getting DMs and emails from pretty serious industry insiders that I knew this was real. Swatch really can't help themselves with leaking their own information. They did it with the MoonSwatch. I thought it was fake, and then it turned out all the leaks were real. They did it with the Scuba 50. They can't help themselves. That was really when I knew. The advantages for Swatch are obvious. Collaborating with a very well thought of Holy Trinity brand. That's big. But the bigger question has been, is this a smart move for AP? And I, maybe controversially, think it is. It's very on brand for them. It's exactly what sets AP apart from Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin, and it's going to bring in a whole new level of exposure for them. Let's start with reason one. AP has always been ahead on the curve. They've always been a brand that knows which way the wind is blowing, and they're comfortable with pivoting. In recent years, since the 1970s, AP hasn't been playing the conservative luxury game, even going back to the Royal Oak. And I think a lot of watch people will roll their eyes at this, but it is hard to understate how defining of a watch this was. Not even was, still is. We are still living in the trend of stainless steel sports watches being seen and sold as luxury goods, artisanal goods. If you've ever said or thought that a stainless steel tool watch should be worth thousands of pounds because it has a mechanical movement, this is the idea AP created and preserved them and so many other brands through the quartz crisis. They really aren't worried about being disruptive or doing weird stuff. They really don't care about what the hoity-toity conservative watch people think. Audemars Piguet has been consistently better at speaking to younger collectors and enthusiasts than many other traditional brands. And I think this is something that rubs middle-aged, maybe more conservative watch enthusiasts wrong, but it's something I really admire about them. They understand culture and want to be tapped into it. They understand hype and they understand aspiration. But although they're able to appeal to younger people, that doesn't necessarily translate to entry-level collectors. And that's where this collaboration comes in. I think AP is going to get a lot out of this. The Royal Oak is one of the most recognizable watch designs in the world, but it is also financially inaccessible for most people. So what happens if you suddenly create a playful, accessible object? You create familiarity, emotional attachment, hype, excitement, and fun. And for younger enthusiasts, that matters. even for older enthusiasts, even for more seasoned collectors. I have lots of friends who have an AP Royal Oak who would love to see this happen, who would love to see these actually come to fruition, and they would like to collect these as well because it's a bit of fun. AP is tapping into that MoonSwatch magic, and I don't think it will cheapen their brand or their icon. The MoonSwatch didn't change how I felt about the Omega Speedmaster. It gave me a new lens to view a watch that I already loved. It was never about selling a £250 watch. It was about cultural relevance. Suddenly, people who had never cared about the Speedmaster knew what it was. I had friends calling me, asking me about it, asking how they could get one, and wanting to know more about the MoonWatch, learning about its history, walking into boutiques, talking about watches. It's fantastic. I think AP is trying to capture that same magic in a way that feels more true to them. Because here's the reality. The Swatch Blancpain had moments, but it never hit that same cultural nerve. The MoonSwatch did. It was a mythical watch, NASA, space, the moon, coming out at just the right time. Just a little bit after the pandemic, we were starting to come out. It had fantastic branding. MoonSwatch, it was so brilliant. Like, everything was so well thought through. And I think the Royal Pop or Pop Royal has those same ingredients. A mythical watch tapping into a cultural moment, and it's kind of tacky and fun and silly at a moment where I think a lot of us need some tacky and fun and silly. Speaking frankly, speaking just as Brittany, not person who's at work, watch reviewer Brittany, I need something funny, silly, low stakes right now. I need something not serious. I feel very worried about the world right now and the direction things are going in. I think that's as specific as I'm going to be, but my heart feels heavy. Heavy to the point where it interferes with my life. I honestly just need a weird, silly, stupid pop swatch. Something colorful and playful, maybe even absurd. But yeah, this is supposed to be escapism. So my personal worry aside, I think this benefits both brands. For Swatch, easy win. Massive foot traffic, relevancy, promotes cues, probably chaos. We've seen this movie before, and I think they're seeking that hype again. For AP, it's kind of an interesting, almost risky move. AP doesn't actually need volume. It usually plays in the quality and inaccessibility land. But there is a certain quality in quantity. This will give them a new cultural relevance, a generation of people identifying with their watches, and that's worth a lot more than you'd think. It's a long game strategy, and AP understands this. This collaboration, if done well, won't dilute the Royal Oak. It reinforces its iconic status. Nobody will suddenly stop wanting the steel Royal Oak because a colorful Swatch version exists. If anything, it reminds people why the original matters. But anyways, guys, this is my little argument on why I like this move, why I think it's a smart move, but I'd love to know what you think. How do you think this will play out? Let me know in the comments down below. Is it one collaboration too far? I don't know. I can't wait to see what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for your viewership. And now, thank you to the Pope Tier patrons. Get their names on the screen.